This is a quick video for Matilda's first in-person follow-up session, just to review some of the things that we talked about and our plan going forward, and homework for the owners as well. Matilda's been doing really well with the consent-based handling, and we've noticed a huge improvement in her behavior around her owners. There have been no more incidences of snapping or air snapping or any of that kind of stuff now that we're learning how to work within her limits and boundaries and what she wants. So we are going to move on now with Matilda to some of our other goals, including working on some of the body handling issues that she has for specific types of things, specifically nails, but we'll look at some other stuff as well, potentially some vaccine patterns, potentially patterns for leashing up that we will utilize with the dog walker in the future. And we're also going to start to teach teach Matilda how to use a scratch board, so that we've got a temporary measure to help control that nail growth while we're working on a nail maintenance plan for her. I'm going to send you guys some separate videos that show body handling patterns, but we did review these basic things. What we're looking for here is predictability in the pattern. We're going to have a nice step-by-step process of building up to paw handling. These patterns always start with touch in a neutral zone, so either the shoulder, hip, or flank, kind of depending on where the dog is comfortable. We're going to start at a neutral point. There's a glide that happens. We stop at a point, and we're going to mark yes with our marker word while our hand is on the dog, remove our hand, and feed a treat. We continue this pattern, neutral zone, glide to a certain point, yes, reward, till the dog is really comfortable and showing signs that they understand what the pattern is and what's going to happen next. And then we move on to just progressing a little further with that handling or that glide. So neutral point, glide to a further point, mark yes, reward. Obviously, we're working on progressing to the paw. But we're not in a rush to get there. So we want to make sure that the dog's really comfortable with every part of this pattern before we start to handle the part of the body that they're a bit more nervous about, so that they understand that this is going to just be part of this pattern that they understand, and that it's a glide, a yes, handoff, treat. We're not going to suddenly grab the paw and try and trim the nails or do something else. We don't have this anticipatory fear going on. So we're going to start working on some of those body handling patterns after you've watched the videos that I'm going to send along with this. And we're going to also work on creating a routine around that. So that varies from dog to dog. Where is the dog comfortable doing this exercise? Similar to the nail brushing, the toothbrushing that we're doing already, where we've got kind of a ritual and a routine around that. We want to do these sort of every day and have kind of a specific place. Maybe we sit in a certain chair. Maybe we go sit next to a certain bed that Matilda likes. And there's a sort of invitation process, right? Like, we've got our food, we're ready to go, and we're going to do this pattern. We're also going to be experimenting with alternating between hand feeding, and then every few patterns we will toss a treat away, looking for a little bit of a consent to make sure that the dog is willing to come back. And I think I've got a video using that, yeah, I'm pretty sure I do, using that treat tossing method with a scratch board with my previous dog, so that you can kind of see what that looks like and how that's helpful in making sure that he's really comfortable and wants to continue the exercise, so we're not ending up pushing our dogs further than we want to. So we're going to start working on some of that. And also the scratch board training, which is quite easy. I will send you my scratch board handout, my scratch board video, but as we talked about, you can make a scratch board out of cutting board is usually the easiest thing. You can also use a clipboard, a little bit of spray adhesive, and some sandpaper. We want a slightly coarser sandpaper on one side and a finer on the other. I'm not remembering the actual grit off the top of my head, but they're both pretty fine. We're not going to have anything really, rugged on there, because that might be uncomfortable. But you do want something that's sort of like emery board fine, and then something that's just like a little bit more coarse. And we use the coarse side to kind of take length off as the dog scratches, and then we use the fine side to kind of smooth the edges with the dog as well. And you'll see that I'm pretty sure in my videos, I haven't watched the videos in a while, but in my scratch board videos you'll see me switching the sides of the board as part of that process, I think. You can start the training without any sandpaper present on anything, so you can grab a binder or clipboard or something, or cutting board, and just kind of start playing around with it while you're waiting to build your scratch board. And we frequently start this behavior by showing the dog a treat, putting it down, hiding it under the board. The dog is going to try to figure out how to get the treat, right? Sometimes we tempt them, we'll move the board, put the board back on, and we're just trying to kind of get the dog to the point where they sort of go, hey, get that board out of the way, and they kind of kick the board or put their foot on it, and then we mark yes, remove the board, let the dog have the treat, and we are going to build from there. That's going to be outlined in the video and the handout and the information that I'm going to send you along with this. The other big thing that we talked about and that we're going to be working on with Matilda is her ability to form relationships with people and have introductions to people, with our goal being, having somebody who can handle her at least enough to leash her up and do some things with her, but really just sort of building relationships and having a better idea of how to handle Matilda around people. We talked about some important things. The big takeaways that I wanted you guys to get from that is that with these types of dogs, it's all about safety. All of this barking and lunging and even the muzzle punching is about trying to create distance from the scary thing and trying to get themselves to a place where they feel safe, because they don't feel safe in the presence of the person in this case. And so our training is going to be twofold. One, we're going to be working on teaching Matilda how to create space without using that big bluster. And the other way to create space is, of course, to just walk away and move away from the person, which is not natural for some of these dogs. And we do need to kind of teach them how to do that. And we're going to start a process of working on that as we go with our training. And then the other thing that's really important is making sure that these encounters we're having with people, that we're focused on not just feeding Matilda because she loves food and she's always going to eat the food, but making sure that she's feeling safe and calm and in control during these situations. And when we're doing a lot of hand feeding, and when we have the dog loose and sort of running around and able to approach when they maybe aren't ready to, we put them in a situation where they're kind of in over their head, and they end up feeling pretty out of control and pretty unsafe at various points during these sessions, or during these interactions, which is when we get these big blow-ups. So the blow-up or the muzzle punch or the nip or whatever that we see is the result of the dog feeling unsafe and dysregulated and just being in a negative emotional state. Our goal is going to be to make sure that she feels calmer and in a more neutral, or hopefully positive, as we work through this emotional state when she is around people. And when she's in that place, in that state, she's going to be able to make better decisions and won't necessarily be going up to people before she's ready, or interacting with people when she's not ready, and therefore not setting herself off as much. We're also going to change things up so that she is not getting food from guests, and we're not at the point where we're talking about having guests around or doing any of that work, but we will work on that more so that the food is coming from the owners. We get good reinforcement for being around people, but there's no bribe factor encouraging her to go closer to people than she wants to. For our next session, we are going to look at actually meeting on a trail and taking a walk. This is more of an exploratory sort of data collection session where I want to just get to know Matilda a little bit better, see what might be some effective ways for her to meet new people, and just kind of play around with a couple of things. So this is still part of that kind of relationship building process and figuring out what's going to work best for her. We're also going to schedule a whole bunch of sessions so that we can continue to work on things, because there's lots of things that we want to work on with her, and we'll get some sessions on the book so that we can do that. Then lastly, if you get the consent of your walker, we're going to film the next time that the walker comes over, and kind of the ritual and routine that we have with her and Matilda. And ideally you guys can send that video to me so I can watch it ahead of time, and then we can kind of talk about things that we might tweak or change, or maybe in the future we'll even include a session where we're all working together. My hope is that Matilda and I are able to build a relationship where I'm able to do more interacting and handling with her, which will make it a lot easier, obviously, to structure some of these sessions and do more work. But we're going to have to see how things go and work at the speed that Matilda's ready to go. I'm feeling really positive about this, and she's a really bright dog, and as we start to support her a little bit better and understand her and kind of change up some of the things that we're doing, she's going to do great.